For decades, the name Iran has appeared in headlines alongside words like sanctions, conflict, and nuclear tensions. Yet every year, thousands of travelers still make their way here, stepping into cities where turquoise mosques glow beneath an open sky. Ancient bazaars hum with life, and ruins from the Persian Empire still rise from the desert floor, as if time itself forgot to bury them. So what is it really like to visit Iran? Iran is a vast country, covering approximately 1.65 million square kilometers, making it one of the largest nations in the Middle East. It sits in one of the most strategically significant positions on Earth. To its south lies the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes every single day. What many people may not realize is the remarkable diversity of its landscapes. Within a single country, Iran contains towering mountain ranges, vast deserts, fertile forests, and long stretching coastlines. Beneath its deserts and mountains lie some of the largest oil and gas reserves on the planet, binding the country deeply to the global energy economy. But beyond the headlines, another story exists. One written not in oil, but in thousands of years of civilization. Because long before modern politics, this land was the heart of ancient Persia. Caravan routes once crossed the Silk Road deserts, linking cities like Yazd and Isfahan. Royal roads connected imperial capitals such as Persepolis, a place now protected among the world's most celebrated heritage sites. And despite the challenges so often associated with the country, daily life continues around these places. Communities near historic sites still welcome travelers. Traditions of hospitality run deep, and cultural heritage remains a living source of pride. To understand Iran, we have to leave the headlines behind and follow a journey across the country, a place where civilizations rose, fell, and quietly endured. Before continuing, it is worth clarifying one important detail about the name itself. For centuries, much of the Western world referred to this land as Persia, a name derived from Parsa, a region in the south that was once the heartland of the ancient Persian Empire. But the people who lived here had long called their homeland Iran, a name rooted in an old Persian word meaning land of the Aryans. In 1935, the government formally asked the international community to adopt this native name for official use. Today, both terms still appear, but they often carry slightly different meanings. Iran refers to the modern nation, while Persia tends to evoke its ancient civilization, culture, and imperial past. Throughout this journey, we will use Iran for the country as it exists today, and Persia when exploring the deeper layers of its history. Because history still shapes the present, we must travel back to understand what Iran is now. Long before the modern nation of Iran existed, this region formed the beating heart of Persia, one of the most powerful civilizations the ancient world ever produced. From royal capitals to roads stretching across continents, Persian rulers built an empire that linked distant cultures through trade and diplomacy. Yet the same geography that brought prosperity also left the land open to invasion. Over the centuries, waves of conquerors arrived, from the campaigns of Alexander the Great to the sweeping expansion of the Arab caliphates, and later the rise of Turkic and Mongol powers across the region. But beyond the battles for land, another form of power was quietly shaping the region: control of the seas. Along Iran's southern coast lies the Persian Gulf, and at its narrow gateway, the Strait of Hormuz. Even today, vast fleets of oil tankers move through this passage, carrying nearly a fifth of the world's energy supply across the globe. For centuries, control of these waters meant far more than access to trade. It meant influence over one of the world's most critical maritime corridors, the passage linking the Indian Ocean, the Middle East, and the markets of Asia and beyond. Because of this, what happens inside Iran rarely stays only within its borders. When the country remains stable, it helps keep balance across the wider region. But when tensions rise, the effects spread far beyond its boundaries, influencing alliances, trade routes, and the decisions of neighboring powers. Yet history here never moves quietly. In the 20th century, those ancient tensions returned in a new form. After the upheaval of the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the region was already fragile, and in 1980, neighboring Iraq launched a full-scale invasion across the border, igniting one of the longest and most destructive wars of the modern Middle East. By the time a ceasefire finally arrived in 1988, the conflict had claimed hundreds of thousands of lives and permanently reshaped the politics of the entire region. Decades after the Iran-Iraq War, the region once again found itself standing at the edge of wider confrontation. In February 2026, the United States and Israel launched a series of major airstrikes against military and strategic targets across Iran, marking one of the most direct confrontations between these powers in decades. Once again, the Middle East was reminded how quickly stability can give way to consequence. And yet, across Iran, life carried on. For in this land, history never truly disappears. It is etched into the earth, woven into the culture, and carried forward by the people who endure it. Is this a country defined only by conflict, or a civilization that has quietly endured for thousands of years? And more importantly, what does everyday life look like in a place the world so often misunderstands? Look closely at the map and consider Iran's position at the heart of Western Asia, where continents of culture converge, between the Middle East, Central Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. For thousands of years, this land served as a bridge between distant worlds, where caravans traveled the Silk Road, armies crossed the mountains, and merchants linked far-flung empires. To the north, Iran borders the Caspian Sea, a vast inland body of water connecting the country to the Caucasus, Russia, and Eastern Europe. For centuries, ports along this coast helped link Persian trade networks to northern markets, turning the region into a gateway between Eurasian economies. To the west, Iran shares long frontiers with Turkey and Iraq. These borders have historically formed the meeting point between the Persian world and the Mediterranean sphere, a frontier shaped by empires for centuries and still one of the oldest political boundaries in the region. To the east, Iran reaches toward Afghanistan and Pakistan, regions that once connected the Persian heartland to the Silk Road and the markets of South and Central Asia. Through these corridors, caravans carried silk, spices, and ideas across the continent. But perhaps Iran's most strategically significant position lies to the south, where its long coastline stretches along the Persian Gulf near the narrow Strait of Hormuz. This unique geography places Iran at the intersection of continental trade routes, energy corridors, and geopolitical influence. Yet geography shapes more than trade and politics. It shapes something far more fundamental: climate. And in Iran, climate varies dramatically from one corner of the country to the next. Iran's climate is a story of extremes, stretching across mountains, deserts, and coastlines. In the north, along the shores of the Caspian Sea, humid winds bring dense forests and steady rainfall, one of the few genuinely lush regions in an otherwise arid land. But just beyond the mountain barrier, the environment changes dramatically. Across much of the Iranian plateau, the climate turns harsh and dry. Rain is scarce, and vast deserts, like the central salt flats, receive less than 100 millimeters of precipitation a year. Summers can be scorching, with temperatures climbing above 40 degrees Celsius, while winters in the mountains can plunge far below freezing. This contrast between humid coasts, snow-covered peaks, and some of the driest deserts on Earth has sculpted the land into extraordinary forms. In the far north of Iran, the Alborz Mountains rise like a natural wall between the country and the Caspian Sea. Snow covers many of these peaks for much of the year, including Mount Damavand, the highest volcano in Asia. Rising more than 5,600 meters above sea level, Mount Damavand dominates the skyline of northern Iran. On clear days, its perfectly shaped volcanic cone can even be seen from Tehran, nearly 70 kilometers away. Unlike most peaks in the Alborz range, Mount Damavand is not simply a mountain. It is a massive stratovolcano, formed over hundreds of thousands of years by layers of lava and ash. Its last eruption occurred roughly 7,000 years ago, leaving behind steaming fumaroles near the summit. High on its slopes, small glaciers cling to the upper reaches, feeding streams that descend through deep valleys toward the Caspian Basin. Just beyond these mountains lies a completely different world. Along the southern shores of the Caspian Sea stretches the Hyrcanian Forest, a UNESCO-protected ecosystem that has existed for millions of years. Stretching for nearly 850 kilometers across the provinces of Gilan, Mazandaran, and Golestan, these ancient woodlands date back between 25 and 50 million years, long before the rise of human civilization. During winter, the Hyrcanian forests transform into a quiet, mist-covered landscape. Snow settles gently across the dense canopy of broadleaf trees, while fog drifts through valleys and across mountain slopes, creating a scene that feels almost timeless. Beneath this winter silence lies one of the region's most biodiverse ecosystems, home to thousands of plant species and wildlife, including wolves, brown bears, and even the elusive Persian leopard. Yet across Iran's northern landscapes, nature has shaped not only forests and mountains, but also the way people live. A striking example can be found in Khandovan. At first glance, the strange stone towers rising from the hillsides raise an obvious question. Are people really living inside a volcano? In reality, the story of Khandovan is quite different. The village lies near the slopes of the ancient Sahand Mountains, where ancient eruptions spread thick layers of volcanic ash across the landscape. Over time, wind and rain slowly carved these deposits into tall, cone-shaped pillars of soft volcanic stone known as tuff. Rather than living inside a volcano, the people of Khandovan carved their homes directly into these natural rock towers. Windows, doorways, and stairways were hollowed out of the stone itself, creating multi-level cave dwellings hidden within the cones. These unusual homes also serve a deeply practical purpose. The thick volcanic walls act as natural insulation, keeping interiors cool during scorching summers and warm through the harsh mountain winters. In the misty mountains of northern Iran, people have long learned to live with the landscape rather than reshape it. One of the most remarkable examples is the village of Masule. Perched high in the mountains, its homes are built so closely into the slope that the roof of one house becomes the street of the one above it. Life in Masule moves to a slower rhythm, shaped by the mountains and the close-knit community that has lived here for generations. The people here belong largely to the Talish culture, blending mountain traditions with Persian heritage, and many families earn their living through handicrafts, small shops, and welcoming the travelers who climb the village's steep terraces. As in much of Iran, hospitality runs deep. Travelers are often treated less like strangers and more like honored guests. But this warmth is more than simple kindness. It is part of a much older cultural tradition. Across the country, hospitality is shaped by a centuries-old social custom known as tarof, a delicate ritual of politeness that can sometimes puzzle first-time visitors. A shopkeeper might wave away your money at first. A host may insist you take the last piece of fruit. Someone might even politely refuse a gift you offer. But in Iran, these first responses are rarely the final answer. Generosity is offered repeatedly, and modesty is shown by refusing before eventually accepting. It is a language of courtesy that takes a little time to learn, but once understood, reveals a great deal about the culture beneath it. Spend a little time in Iran, and another layer of its character becomes clear. Iranian society places great importance on close family ties, yet many people also cultivate a strong sense of personal identity. Together, these traits create a cultural character distinct from much of the Arab world around it, and in some ways, closer to the social rhythms of South Asia. The cultural depth seen in Taruf also influences how Iranians tell stories. And perhaps the most beautiful expression of that storytelling tradition is found in Iranian cinema. Through simple stories and powerful symbolism, Iranian films offer a rare window into the country's inner life, revealing the dreams, struggles, and humanity of people often misunderstood from the outside. One thing many travelers may not realize is that Iran is in many ways a remarkably young society. Today, the country has a median age of around 34 years, meaning that roughly half of its population is younger than 35. This demographic profile is largely the result of a population surge that followed the 1979 revolution, when millions of children were born in just a few decades. As a result, modern Iran is shaped by a generation that grew up after the revolution, one that now fills the country's universities, workplaces, and cities. Yet, despite this youthful energy, Iran remains deeply connected to traditions that have endured for thousands of years. Perhaps the most important of these arrives each spring, when families across the country prepare to celebrate the Persian New Year, a festival known as Nowruz. The celebration dates back more than 3,000 years, long before the rise of modern Iran, and continues to unite millions of people across the region today. This tradition of artistry extends beyond the festival table, most famously in the Persian carpet. For centuries, Iranian artisans have woven carpets admired around the world for their intricate patterns, vibrant colors, and extraordinary craftsmanship. Each piece is often made entirely by hand, sometimes taking months or even years to complete. The materials themselves are carefully chosen: fine wool, silk, and natural dyes derived from plants, roots, and minerals. Today, Persian carpets remain one of the country's most recognized cultural exports. Beyond their beauty, these carpets often tell stories. Their patterns may represent gardens, rivers, animals, or symbolic elements drawn from Persian culture, turning each piece into a small reflection of the landscapes and traditions of Iran. Look closely at the patterns of Persian carpets, and you will find echoes of Iran's natural landscapes, from gardens and mountains to places like Hormuz Island. Rising from the turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf, Hormuz Island is one of the most unusual landscapes in Iran. Often called the Rainbow Island, its terrain is made up of vibrant layers of red, yellow, orange, and purple minerals that color the hills and beaches in extraordinary ways. Unlike many islands formed mainly from coral or sand, Hormuz is shaped by ancient salt domes and mineral-rich rock pushed up from deep within the earth. Over millions of years, wind and sea have carved the landscape into dramatic cliffs, valleys, and caves that feel almost otherworldly. Some of its most celebrated sites include the island's striking red beach, where iron-rich soil stains the sand a deep crimson, and winding salt caves that glitter under the light. For travelers and photographers, Hormuz feels less like a typical island and more like a natural palette of colors laid across the sea. Echoing those same tones, clusters of brightly domed eco-lodges rise from the shoreline, scattered across the desert like pieces of the island's own landscape. Yet, the Persian Gulf holds more than colorful islands. Not far away, on Keshem Island, erosion has carved valleys so unusual they are often compared to the surface of another planet. According to legend, the the strange formations were created when a fallen star struck the Earth. But in reality, millions of years of wind and water sculpted these rocks into one of the most otherworldly terrains in the Middle East. Standing here, it is easy to understand why some visitors say Keshem feels less like Earth and more like somewhere else entirely. Earlier in our journey, we explored the world of ancient Persia, a civilization that once stretched across vast lands and left its mark on the waters of the Persian Gulf. But Iran is not only a story of the past. Now we return to Iran not as the land of empires, but as a modern civilization still writing its story today. Our journey continues in Tehran, the capital and largest city of Iran. A vast metropolis resting at the foot of the Alborz Mountains, where modern life unfolds against the backdrop of a civilization thousands of years old. Here, the skyline tells the story of two different eras, one reaching toward the future, and the other rooted deeply in the nation's past. Rising high above the city is Milad Tower, one of the tallest structures in the Middle East. Standing at 435 meters, it dominates the Tehran skyline and can be seen from almost every corner of the capital. Completed in 2007 after more than a decade of construction, the tower serves not only as a telecommunications hub, but also as a cultural and commercial center with observation decks, galleries, and a revolving restaurant overlooking the entire city. Milad Tower stands as a symbol of modern Iran, a reminder that alongside its ancient heritage, the country continues to build, adapt, and look toward the future. Yet long before Milad Tower reshaped the skyline, another monument had already become one of Tehran's most enduring symbols. In the heart of Azadi Square stands the Azadi Tower, a graceful white structure rising 45 meters above the city. Built in 1971 and clad entirely in cut marble, the tower blends elements of ancient Persian architecture with modern design, drawing inspiration from the Achaemenid and Sasanian empires. For decades, it has welcomed those entering the city and remains one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of Iran. From Tehran, our journey leads south toward a different face of the country, one shaped not by modern towers, but by centuries of craftsmanship and desert architecture. Here stands Kashan, an ancient oasis city on the edge of Iran's great deserts. For generations, Kashan has been known for its elegant courtyard houses, intricate tilework, and wind towers designed to cool homes long before the age of electricity. Walking through its narrow alleys feels like stepping into a living museum where Iran's past and present meet in quiet harmony. Before our journey continues toward Isfahan, it is worth pausing for a moment to understand one of the most important influences on Iranian society: Islam. Iranian architecture was designed to reflect harmony, devotion, and a vision of the universe shaped by faith. Today, most Iranians follow Shia Islam, a branch of the faith that has shaped not only religious life, but also social customs, law, and the rhythms of daily behavior. In many cities across the country, faith can be felt in the texture of everyday life. The call to prayer echoes from mosque minarets, and families gather for religious holidays. One of the most visible expressions of this tradition is the way people dress. Many women wear a headscarf known as the hijab, which covers the hair as a sign of modesty and religious identity. Since the Islamic Revolution of 1979, Iranian law has required women to wear some form of hijab in public spaces. Throughout the year, religious traditions also shape the social calendar. During the holy month of Ramadan, many Iranians fast from sunrise to sunset, and as evening falls, families and neighbors gather to share meals and conversation. For visitors, understanding a few simple customs can make the experience far more comfortable. During daylight hours, especially in Ramadan, it is considered respectful to avoid eating or drinking openly in crowded public spaces. Modest clothing is generally appreciated, and greetings between men and women are often more reserved, so it is best to follow the other person's lead. Alcohol is also prohibited under Islamic law in Iran. Yet despite these customs, many travelers discover something remarkable. Iranians are widely known for their generosity, and for those who approach the culture with curiosity and genuine respect, the welcome is often warm and completely sincere. Perhaps nowhere is this spirit more visible than in the historic city of Isfahan, long celebrated as one of the cultural hearts of the Persian world. At its center stands Naqsh-e-Jahan Square, a vast royal plaza built in the early 17th century under the Safavid ruler Shah Abbas I. Stretching nearly 560 meters in length and about 160 meters in width, the square formed the monumental centerpiece of the Safavid capital. At the southern end rises the Imam Mosque, once known as the Shah Mosque. Its vast turquoise dome dominates the skyline of the square, and its walls and arches are covered in deep blue, turquoise, and golden patterns, forming intricate geometric designs and flowing calligraphy that shimmer beneath the desert sun. Even the entrance is carefully angled toward Mecca, creating a subtle architectural shift that reveals the mastery of Safavid design. Across the square to the east stands the Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque, a structure unlike most mosques of its time. Smaller and more intimate, it was built as a private royal mosque for the Safavid court. As sunlight moves across its dome throughout the day, the patterns appear almost alive, revealing a masterpiece of Persian decorative art. On the western side rises Ali Kapı Palace, the ceremonial palace where Safavid rulers once watched the life of the square unfold below. From its high wooden balcony, kings observed polo matches and royal ceremonies, while inside, carved acoustic niches were designed to amplify music throughout the halls. Leaving Isfahan behind, the landscape gradually shifts as the road moves deeper into the desert plateau of central Iran. Here lies the historic city of Yazd, a city famous for its wind catchers rising above sun-baked walls, an ingenious architectural response to centuries of life in the desert. These tall towers, built to catch the faintest desert breeze and channel it down into the rooms below, are among the most elegant examples of passive cooling ever devised by human hands. Not far from Yazd, the town of Ardakan preserves another chapter of this story. The Jame Mosque of Ardakan, built in the early 16th century, reflects the enduring traditions of Islamic architecture, its simple brick structure standing quietly against the desert landscape. Together, these places reveal a civilization shaped not only by faith, but by adaptation, creativity, and the patient meeting of cultures across centuries. As the journey continues south across the Iranian plateau, the desert landscapes slowly give way to a city long celebrated for its poetry, gardens, and artistic spirit. This is Shiraz, often remembered as the cultural heart of Persia. The city is equally known for its architecture. One of its most striking landmarks is the Nasir al-Mulk Mosque, often called the Pink Mosque. Built in the late 19th century, the structure is known for its delicate pink tiles and intricate Persian patterns. Yet its most breathtaking moment arrives shortly after sunrise, when light passes through stained glass windows and casts shifting patterns of color across the prayer hall, transforming the space into a quiet interplay of light and geometry. Another remarkable interior can be found inside the Vakil Mosque, where the prayer hall is supported by a forest of elegant stone columns. 48 pillars carved from single blocks of marble, each spiraled with delicate fluting that catches the soft glow filtering through the arches above. As visitors walk quietly between the pillars, the repeating lines of stone create a rhythm of symmetry that seems to stretch endlessly. In the stillness of the hall, the architecture invites reflection, where light, stone, and silence shape everything around you. Beyond its mosques, Shiraz is also famous for its Persian gardens, where flowing water, shaded walkways, and carefully arranged trees reflect an ancient vision of harmony between nature and human design. About 60 kilometers northeast of Shiraz, the dry plains of Fars province begin to reveal one of the most remarkable archaeological sites in the world. Rising from the landscape are the monumental ruins of Persepolis, once the ceremonial capital of the Persian Empire. Founded in the 6th century BCE during the Achaemenid dynasty, Persepolis served as a symbolic center of imperial power. From here, Persian kings ruled an empire that stretched from Egypt across the Middle East and as far as the Indus Valley. One of the most striking features of Persepolis is the vast stone terrace elevated above the surrounding land. Upon this platform once stood grand palaces and audience halls. The surviving columns still hint at the scale of the Apadana Hall, where envoys from across the empire once gathered to present tribute to the king. Along the monumental staircases, intricate stone reliefs remain carved into the walls, depicting delegations from distant lands, each bringing gifts, textiles, animals, and precious goods, offering a vivid glimpse into the cultural diversity of the Persian Empire. Today, beneath the wide skies of southern Iran, Persepolis stands not merely as a ruin, but as a reminder that a great civilization once rose here and left its mark on the world. Iran is also one of the most resource-rich regions on Earth. To understand modern Iran, we must look beneath the ground to the natural wealth that has long made this land both prosperous and deeply contested. From immense oil and natural gas reserves to fertile valleys and mineral deposits, nature has played a quiet but decisive role in shaping the country's history, economy, and its place in world affairs. Much of this energy wealth is concentrated along the Persian Gulf and within the Zagros region, areas that have supplied fuel to global markets for decades. Oil was first discovered in Iran in the early 20th century, transforming the country into one of the most strategically important energy producers in the Middle East. Vast networks of wells, pipelines, and export terminals now connect these resources to the wider world. But Iran's natural wealth goes beyond energy. Fertile valleys fed by seasonal rivers support agriculture in otherwise arid landscapes, while the country also holds significant deposits of copper, iron ore, and other minerals. Yet natural wealth does not always guarantee economic prosperity. Despite possessing some of the world's largest oil and gas reserves, Iran's economy has faced decades of complex challenges. International sanctions have often restricted trade, foreign investment, and access to global financial systems. At the same time, heavy reliance on oil revenues has made the country sensitive to fluctuations in global energy prices. While the land beneath Iran holds immense resources, transforming that wealth into stable and sustained economic growth has proven far more complicated than the reserves alone might suggest. And so, Iran remains a paradox, a nation rich in natural resources, yet navigating a far more complicated economic reality. Over the centuries, trade, craftsmanship, and commerce have also shaped the country's economy. Traditional bazaars, some of them operating for hundreds of years, still function as vibrant centers of daily life, where carpets, spices, textiles, and handmade goods connect Iran's ancient culture with modern markets. In recent years, tourism has also become an increasingly important part of the economy. With its rich history, dramatic landscapes, and well-preserved architecture, Iran continues to attract travelers curious to explore a country often misunderstood from the outside. Before recent geopolitical tensions, more than 7 million international visitors were arriving each year, generating roughly $7 billion in tourism revenue. Hotels, guides, transportation services, and local crafts all benefit from this growing flow of visitors. For many travelers, Iran is also known as a surprisingly affordable destination. A comfortable hotel can often cost between $20 and $60 per night, while meals and local transportation are generally inexpensive compared to many other destinations. This combination of deep history, rich culture, and relatively low travel costs has made Iran an intriguing choice for adventurous travelers, especially during periods of regional stability. And yet, numbers and resources alone cannot fully explain a country like Iran. Because beyond its economy and politics, and beyond the headlines that so often define it to the outside world, Iran remains a land shaped by something far older. Its culture, its people, and a long history that has risen and endured here for thousands of years. From traditions shaped by Islamic faith to the legacy of Persian civilization and the striking landscapes of deserts, mountains, and ancient cities, Iran is a place unlike anywhere else in the world. Even in times of change and uncertainty, its culture, its people, and its long history continue to leave a lasting impression on those who seek to understand it. And perhaps, like many places shaped by such a long and complex past, there is always a quiet hope that the future may bring greater stability and a deeper connection with the wider world.